And this is Raw 12:51 a.m. I am your host Chinmay Baratia, and welcome back to the Warwick F1 show. This last week we've had a lot of news going on. It's just been a very crazy week for Formula One. Even more car liveries, the whole restructuring we've seen with a removal of Michael Massey, and now right this minute we are in the middle of the first week of testing, which is, for the first time, I think, in a very long time, we're not actually seeing it televised. And yeah, it's just a lot of things that's been going on the last week, and I think it's just time for us to go back and reflect on it. So, and I can't do this alone, so I think I'll quickly introduce our guests. First, I got my co-host, Will Kingswood. How are you?
Hello, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, all good. And we also got Jack Rowe, my other co-host.
Hello, I'm looking forward to this week's one. I think after last week, like immediately after the 2 days, even before I'd posted the actual podcast itself, the amount of news that had come in was just so much that we could have talked about another hour. So yeah, it's good to have this session, I think.
Yeah, I think we could have done with a 2-hour session this week or something like that. It's quite a lot of news.
Well, it's just annoying because I swear it was the same day that they announced Michael Massey, or it was like a day later. It was just like, could you not have scheduled it with my consent, please?
I mean, literally, it's like the same day we had the Ferrari launch, followed by Michael Massey, followed by Myself and I being announced as Alpine team principal. And yeah, we also got 2 more guests with us. We got Saif. How are you today?
I'm good, Chinmay. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to absolutely venting about everything that's happened over the past couple of days.
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy. And we also got another returning guest in James. How are you?
Hi, Chinmay. Thanks for having me as well. As Saif said, I'm looking forward to having the discussion of the news that came through.
Yeah, it's been a very, very hectic week, and I suppose we could start with testing, because the fact that we finally were starting this. Normally this will be the first time we actually see the F1 cars all out on track and at Catalonia, but I suppose due to like the new regulations or something like that, and due to like probably difficulties with punditry and stuff, like that, Formula One decided not to televise this week's testing. I mean, do you think they really should have done that, or do you kind of understand why, Will?
It's an odd one. I think in the past, I want to say testing hasn't traditionally been televised, but there has been a shift towards televising it. So it does seem a bit, I guess, confusing as to why they haven't televised it, especially with how much they're moving towards just F1 being so like broadcasted everywhere. I mean, there must be reasons, but I can't think of what they are.
I mean,
well, I'm going to go with did you read the newsletter this week from F1 Sock? That was me saying about the 2014 testing, which was an absolute shambles. They had 8 days, I think, over 2 separate sections, and I think just under 50 laps or it might have been 90 laps or something like that got completed on the first day, because just no one got out in time. So yeah, if you want to watch that, you feel free, but I think generally when new regulations come in, it's a bit of a bore fest.
Yeah, and I suppose with the punditry as well, it's could be quite difficult going on for a whole 8 hours straight a day for 3 days straight. I mean, we know Crofty can go on for a very long time, especially in the practice sessions, but I'm pretty sure that even for him, this will probably be a lot of work for him to try and keep things engaging and everything going on for 8 hours and keep everyone entertained. I mean, what do you think, Saif?
Yeah, I definitely think the entertainment factor is the main reason. It's not about secrets or like them like testing out the new setup. It's because it just doesn't fit with the whole Formula One exciting vibe that they're going for. Because secrets can't be kept. There's loads of people on the ground there. It all comes out on Instagram and Facebook, etc.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, we're still getting a lot of leaks and pictures about stuff going on. I think there's quite a few YouTube commentators I know that are still going over like all the texts and all the tweets and everything that's coming out and the testing that's going on. But surely that testing is something that kind of appeals up to the technical fans, and technical fans can't really see a lot of the developments that Formula One brings out. I mean, anyone want to add on like the technical element of testing or anything, or if entertainment or anything?
I think it's more that the times in testing don't really matter. Obviously, there'll be trends, and you'll start to see trends over the next few days, and especially as we get into Bahrain. of what teams are probably like some of the quickest, what are some of the slowest. But at the moment, they're all running completely different setups. Some teams will be testing out long runs, high downforce. Some teams long runs, low downforce. Short runs, high. Short run, low. Short run, medium. It's completely different because they do, especially with these new regulations, have to test everything because this is the first time that most or a lot of the cars have been out on track and have been out to actually look for performance as opposed, I guess, for media and marketing.
Yeah, that's completely true. I mean, I think it's just suppose that, like I said, it's just all about all the difficulties with trying to broadcast testing and all the timing value alone. So I think time to move on to a first break. This is Mahalia and Letter to Your Ex. And we're back. I mean, I think now I suppose we can talk about some of the new liveries that's come out in the last couple of last week or so. I think in particular we have Ferrari, Mercedes, and Alpine. With Alpine sort of going for launching two different liveries because I think they're, especially with their new title sponsor BWT coming in from moving over from Aston Martin to Alpine, and they sort of got two different liveries. So I mean, the first one they got sort of like this whole all pink livery with a Racing Point. What do you honestly think of those two liveries, James?
I mean, if we're talking about the new Alpine ones, I just have I don't think I'll be able to say it on air. Like, it's just not too great, is it? The pink just looks absolutely hideous, and I was just never a fan of it. Like, even for the I think when it was Racing Point, I just never liked it, and I definitely do not like it on an Alpine for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clashing, would you say? Yes.
I think it might be one of my favourites actually. The pink, the one they're running for the first two races, just the pink one, so dull, like it's pointless and boring. But the pink and blue looks really good.
Yeah,
I'm not having this. I'd say it's almost my favourite. It's definitely top three. I think Ferrari, we'll talk about them later, also comes in as a challenger, but Alpine's definitely up there for me. Once they get past the first two races.
No, no, I just don't agree with that at all. What annoys me is that little, they had the diagonal stripes that are meant to be somehow the French flag and the British flag at the same time. Now they've just kind of shifted them up onto the wing and they just start out of nowhere and it's all broken up and that looks wrong. If they'd removed that, they put something else in there, they'd entirely redesigned the car, maybe I'd like it. But BWT seem to have a habit of coming in at the last minute and just making an absolute mess of the livery. I mean, look at the Aston Martin last year. It was garbage and this one's garbage as well.
Look, I love a BWT pink livery, whether it's in Formula 1 or GT3 or whatever. I just think it looks awesome. It's nice to have it back on the calendar. I actually prefer the fully pink one from the blue and pink one. I feel like the blue and pink one is just sort of like a hodgepodge job from last season. They sort of just put the pink on the last season's livery and just went with it. But the full pink one, that's awesome.
I mean, I think personally for me, the only gutting thing is that, especially when we have the pink VWT, we don't have Kimi Räikkönen mixing up the two teams and not calling it Force India, or I can't say the following words is not. I can't say it on air. But then we also have Mercedes. We also have Mercedes come out. We're turning to their Silver Arrows livery from 2019. After 2019 was the last time they did it. And then because of the last 2 years they brought out a whole black livery, which was possibly the best livery, one of the best livery in the last 2 years, if you compare with everybody else.
It's boring. I'd so like the black livery. The black livery was so good, and this one is just a bit matte silver, dull, uninspiring. It's just really, really dull to me. I'd say the livery quality this year in particular, is top notch, and I think in a normal year that Mercedes would probably be a lot higher on my my ranking than it is, but it is just a bit dull. Like, why didn't they keep the black livery? The black livery was so good.
Look, I agree that it may look a little dull because of the grey. Like, it just has to be matte. That's just the nature of the sport now. But I think it's throwing back to heritage and added that red with the Ineos stuff. Reminds me of the Red Pig vibes. I love the faded star pattern on the back. I think it looks awesome, mate. And like I said, they did get the silver place last season, and it's a good encouragement to come back and fight even harder. And I'm a Mercedes fan, so I'm not taking the mick.
What do you think?
I'm going the same as I said with the Alpine. There's too much going on here. The silver and the blue and the red do not all work together. The Mercedes signs fading into some weird blue colour. They're shiny. I'm not sure what's going on with that either. It's cluttered. I don't like it. I like the basic ones, but this is a bit much for me.
Yeah, what do you think, James?
Yeah, I actually because I'm a bit biased because I'm a big Mercedes fan, but I'm actually excited to see, because when I first started watching F1, it was when they just started the black livery. So it's actually quite interesting to see an actual silver arrow on the grid. But I do agree with the point that this year's liveries are like top notch, and it kind of fades the Mercedes away, especially the Ferrari one coming in with that amazing red dashing color. I can't really claim that the Mercedes one is the best, but I think it's definitely up there. I feel like.
I'm gonna be on the side where I'm not a fan of the livery. I just feel that because that silver is just not metallic or anything. I mean, I get why they've gone matte, but it looks flat. It doesn't wow me the same way the Ferrari livery does, for example, with that sort of like new wine red going into black, and the way that I think is one of the best looking F1 cars I've seen in a little while. Personally speaking, I just love that Ferrari color. I mean, what do you guys think?
It's just like the old school Ferrari. Unfortunately, Ferrari seem to have a thing about when their cars look good, they're never that good to drive. So maybe they'll break the curse, but no, it's a very, very good looking car. It's quite simple. It's just quite elegant. There's nothing. It's just red body, black like end plates and wings and stuff. It works. It doesn't need to go any further than that.
Yeah, I think it's really difficult to take liveries independently of the car itself, but that car as well is a thing of beauty. As long as you get the right angle, because those little dish-shaped bits on the side are weird, but that does make the air intakes look so pretty. They've got they're narrow and it looks just, I don't know what the word for it is, brutal, I guess, in some ways. It's just sharp, I think. It's the bad guy. It's the traditional evil bad guy, right? That's what you wanted from the Mercedes, right, Will? And I think that's what we got from Ferrari. But yeah, I don't think this livery would have worked on last year's car, but God, does it work on this one.
What do you think?
Yeah,
Saif?
I mean, with the shape of the body and the darker red color, like especially on track, I think it looks awesome on track because you don't really get much like reflection or glow off of it. It's like the red missile just going through. I really like it, mate.
Yeah, I think Ferrari just show that. So I'm not just going simple. It's just the best way to go. I mean. And I feel that livery kind of just shows that these new 2022 cars are actually really good looking, and the teams actually put some extra effort into these liveries to see out. I would say.
I mean, there you go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just a quick question: is the mission winnow thing gone for like good?
I believe so. It's not here for this year. I know that. I don't think so. They do have a title sponsor this year.
No.
Yeah,
that reminds me. Sorry, James. Finish what you're saying first. But I got to say something.
I'm so glad to see it gone. Is it British Tobacco that But I don't know if I'm going to be applying for any jobs there. But honestly, it was terrible. I hated it so much on it, and I'm just glad that now the back, just the rear wing is just plain black and just slick like that.
Yeah.
Do you remember the episode where we made our own teams? And
Yes.
the livery that I showed around was the MotoGP Ducati. I think that livery is exactly like that.
Is that
If
the
you
black
try,
one?
Yeah.
the red and black across. That is just as close as you could get to this Ferrari, and I'm so happy that kind of came true.
Yeah. And maybe before we move on, can we just talk about how different all the cars look? Like normally when when I've watched F1 over like the last few years, the cars have looked fairly similar. You actually have to be quite knowledgeable in the sport to know where the difference is. But I swear there's about 10 different side pod intake designs. It's ridiculous how different they look. After everyone thought it was just going to be like build a kit car out of, and then you've got some that are like narrow side pods, or I'm just using side pods because it's the easiest example. Narrow, wide, long, short. It's actually ridiculous how different everything is.
But I'm not sure if I'm worried or happy, because like a best case scenario is that there are 10 really, really good ideas. Yeah, and worst case scenario is that like 2 or 3 guys got it really right, and then everyone else got it really wrong. So that's why like I'm a bit on the fence, you know.
I think so, but you could almost have it like maybe some cars are just going to be good at some tracks and some cars are going to be good at other ones, because that was sort of like the early 2010s. Like there were some races where Ferrari were best, McLaren were best, then Red Bull were best, and it was just like no one really knew who was going to win. I don't think you're realistically going to have 10 cars up the front.
No, but that's just the hypothetical best case.
Yeah.
I mean, that does remind me of, I think someone saying that the top view of the new Ferrari car looks like someone plunged a plunger down the like toilet. Yeah. I didn't see it at first, but it does look like it.
I'm just looking forward to see that Ferrari in a wet race, just see if the side pods actually fill up with water and slow that whole car down. It'll be quite amusing if that actually happened though. And I think, and also just like, it amusing that the people have different sized rear wings as well, because I kind of saw like, from the pictures, it saw like Ferrari had smaller wings, and then you see Haas, they come with one of the largest wings I've ever seen in terms of rear wing. I mean, is that...
Having a look at the pictures.
So I mean,
I'm not sure what the regulations are on wing size, because obviously it's all like graph based now, isn't it? From like X point to Y point, you gotta have something or whatever.
Yeah, and I mean they have tightened a lot of like where you can actually develop the cars. Like I think so like the Venturi tunnels are quite limited, where you can do like the front, the actual elements of the front wing, and you know, the general shape of the car, the whole fact that you can't do anything with the wheel covers or anything like that. They've actually, despite that they've restricted quite a lot of things, it's quite fun to see how, like Will said, just see how different how other teams have come out with different designs and everything. But yeah.
I mean, you put that pretty well. I mean, not much to add to that, really, is there?
No.
The hype is increasing. We're getting towards Bahrain.
I'm so ready.
It's a month. It's 3 weeks on Sunday, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I quickly say before we move on, just wanted to say, Alfa Romeo, if you're listening, I know you haven't released your actual livery, but your test liveries all the time, they're really dank. Your outfits for Valtteri Bottas, the black and white, you guys look amazing. Honestly, you hit it right there.
I think they did. I think Alpha did like a post with Alpha with the camo livery, and then Valtteri Bottas just like, "Can you see him?" type thing.
Yeah, with the helmet matched and everything. It's so cool.
Yeah, I won't stay because you can't see the sponsors on it in the slightest. But at the moment, it does look good. When it says the 27th, 4 days.
Fashionably late, mate.
Yeah. They are quite a bit later than everyone else.
Yeah, I don't know why, but yeah.
As well.
So yeah. Time for another break, I suppose. This is Moondog with Saving the Furnaces. And we're back. Well, I think it's now time to pretty much go on to the biggest news in the last week or so with Michael Massey. With the removal of Michael Massey and the sort of restructuring of the whole race direction thing with we have Eduardo Freitas and Niels Wittig from the World Endurance Championship and DTM respectively coming in to alternate the role, and they also have a senior advisor with Herbie Blash returning to the sport after a little while, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, and then obviously, and with Mohammed bin Sulayem also introducing a sort of F1's own version of the VAR, with the whole virtual race control room being set up in one of the FIA offices. I mean, what was your first things first? Do you think this was coming? This whole Michael Massey being fired?
I don't think he could have stayed. Like, I think there's a general recognition at this point that we've sort of ended up in a situation that no one really likes. The rules were, like, everyone is coming to accept the rules were broken, but it's almost like can't really do anything about it, because, to be honest, it wasn't Max Verstappen's fault that the rules were broken. Obviously, they benefited him, and maybe Red Bull had a bit of undue influence, but the driver out on the track did nothing wrong. He just did what ended up winning in the championship. There's nothing we can really do about it, so I think the best solution was to replace him.
Yeah, I mean, what else did you guys think about Michael Massey's firing?
I mean, I think it's good that wasn't the only thing that they did. Because if they did, it's clear that he's the scapegoat, right? And F1, not just Michael Massey, has been pushing for this. Let them race, whatever they say, and they'll change around the rules and they'll let it happen throughout the whole season. And it was not until, it has a humongous effect on the championship that maybe they're like, oh, we've gone a bit too far on this. So I'm glad they've changed things around. I'm glad they've introduced multiple people to that role. I'm glad we're going to have a little bit of a change up, but also we've got that supervisor overlooking things. I think they've done the right thing. Maybe it's not his fault, maybe it is his fault, but they've not thrown him completely under the bus, and they've not let him get away with his actions either. So I think that's right.
Yeah. I mean, what do you guys think, Saif?
I mean, Michael had it coming. I don't think that the Abu Dhabi situation was like the be-all and end-all. That was just the ceiling, it just did the job. But like all that safety issues that we've had over the past couple of years and stuff like that, stewards not knowing what to do, having clear clarification from the race director, it was inevitable, to be honest. And I'm low-key glad. No offense, Michael.
No, that's fine. James?
I'm just gonna miss the interactions him, Toto, and just they had on the radios and what we got to hear. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't think we can. Unfortunately, we won't be able to hear Toto trying to beg Michael to read his emails anymore. But yeah, I suppose.
I mean, they've just announced in the announcement as well. They said they got rid of the whole communications, which it was a very good idea in principle until it instantly became a really, really bad idea in practice, because it was just getting ridiculous at that point. Like the Emailgate at Silverstone, obviously everything that happened in Brazil, Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi. It's just like, it was so silly. It wasn't even entertaining, because it was just a bunch of middle-aged men whining on the radio.
Yeah, literally Karen Horner, Karen Wolf, and then Michael Massey just.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to televise it anymore, but they will still have some form of communication between the race director. I don't know how much they're going to be controlling it, and I guess that's not something we're going to see, but I hope they do really clamp down on it, because it was so silly. Even the race director coming back at them as well, it was not as professional as you would have hoped.
No. It was a TV serial more than anything else, that radio, I would say.
What was it that he said? It is a race, Toto.
That's racing, Toto.
It's a car race, yeah.
Car racing.
But you think, like, even if they're still allowed to contact it, it won't be played up for the cameras. You really think Toto Wolff is gonna say, "I sent you an email"? He's not gonna say it in those words if he's not on it. He knows he's on air. He knows what it puts added pressure, and if they do it off air, it will be a lot more professional.
Yeah, it would be.
Like you said, like Formula One teams, if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Like if you give them any avenue to influence the race, they'll take it. So like you said, it was good in principle, but like they took advantage of it, and it really didn't work out. So. Yeah,
and I suppose, do you think F1 have brought in good people? I mean, we got Eduardo Freitas, who's been the race director for the World Endurance Championship for the past 20 years, and so known for his no-nonsense approach to marshalling and everything like that. And then we got some Nils Wittek, who came from DTM, and I think he's also become the race director for Formula 2 and Formula 3 respectively, to alternate in that role. Do you think they are good additions to replace Michael Massey for that role?
I'm not well versed enough in my stewarding to know who could replace it. I know DTM had a bit of a scandal in their final race of the season. I think, was it
Liam Lawson.
Kelvin. It was Kelvin Van der Linde steaming up the inside, took out Liam Lawson, and then Maximilian Götz went and won the DTM title. So maybe not the best option, but I don't know. I'm not well versed enough in that and what happened in that race to figure out whether it was as bad as Abu Dhabi. But if they seem qualified enough, they've been in stewarding for years now. So I don't see a better or more obvious better option.
Yeah, safe.
From what I know about Freitas from the WEC and Le Mans and stuff, you can hear him often on the radio, and he's a super chilled guy. I'm not sure if that's going to work out with Formula One. I mean, if his counterpart is a bit more, bad cop, and it would be a good cop, bad cop situation, I think it could work out. But from what I've heard of him, he's pretty relaxed, and I think that's not going to work out with the aggression from Christian and Toto and all those other lads.
Well, true, especially because I guess in WEC you've got the time to make decisions, because those races are like 6, 12, 24 hours long. Here, if you don't make a decision in 10, 15 minutes, that's another 7, 8 laps, and the race could have completely changed in that point. You've got to be making decisions quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, genuine question, is it a bit too early to start talking about possibly just computer refereeing the race just based on the rule books?
I don't think computer refereeing will work, because the whole nature of Formula One is if you'll put in these rules, a good example is the new wet rule that they have for Spa. We have raced for 75 years and we've never come to the decision if it's too rainy, what do we do? A lot of the time there aren't rules exactly related to that incident in the rule book, and I don't think a computer could really understand that, and stuff like racing incidents and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, we have the technical regs, right? They're the ones that are just a hard line. If you cross it, even if it's by 2 millimeters, it doesn't matter. You're done for. But sporting regs, like Saif says, it's open for interpretation because it's a human sport. We saw, I don't know if you guys have heard of Robo Race, but that's the AI-led one. I'm sure they'll manage to implement it somehow, but no, it's impossible.
Yeah, and do you think this edition of the virtual race control could really help with the stewarding, help it become more consistent?
What is it? What does it actually do?
Apparently it's some sort of external external thing they have in one of the FIF offices away from the circuits and stuff like that. So it's kind of mimicking football's VAR in that respect, and so assisting the race director from externally type thing.
Yeah, I need to see how it would work. Because I don't know. Was Michael Massey making... No, but what did Michael... Because the stewards were making the decisions on penalties. What did Michael Massey do? He was race director. I'm not well versed enough in stewarding, but if it works, it works. Then, and if it works, I'm happy with it, to be honest.
I don't think they have come out enough to... They haven't given enough detail about how this virtual race control would specifically work or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, we can only tell from Bahrain, to be fair. In a month's time, we'll get to know how well this thing works, especially with
12-car pile-up, and they've suddenly got to work out who's at fault.
Especially with the so-called visibility issues that are being predicted with the whole 18-inch wheels and everything like that. So yeah, I think we can move on to another break type thing. Here is Crystal Tides with Honey. And yeah, and I suppose one more piece of news we can talk about is Andretti applying to come into the sport for 2024. I mean, literally a day after we record our episode on our teams, and then Mario Andretti literally comes out with a tweet saying, my son has applied to come to the sport 2024. I mean, what were your initial reactions on that?
First of all, it was so out of the blue. There were no rumors of Andretti coming into the sport. It's just there was just a tweet. I just look at my phone. There's a tweet from Mario Andretti being we want to join F1. And if
no, it's not we want to join F1. It's we've applied to join F1.
If F1 fumble this bag, I will not forgive them. It's an American team, likely with at least one American driver in a sport that is now being heavily marketed towards Americans. and they've done all the requirements. It's a big name in F1, like already, so it appeals to the new fans, it appeals to the old fans, it appeals to the new customers in America. They seem to have the money, they seem to have the facilities. If they somehow do not get onto the grid, I'll be exceptionally shocked.
Yeah. And I think F1 definitely needs a proper American team. 'Cause, I mean, I know we do have one in Haas, but I don't think you can call themselves an American team with the fact that they have the actual Russian flag on the actual car alone. I mean, but yeah, I think it's just they need to bring Andretti in sport. What do you think, Saif?
I think beyond just like the Formula One and the Andretti aspect, I think that it creates like a better ecosystem of top tier racing, because right now like stock car and IndyCar, they're not really classed as top tier. But now that you have that relationship with McLaren in IndyCar, you have Andretti in IndyCar, you have Haas in stock car racing, I think it will definitely increase like the world of motorsport as a whole. You know, like, was it rising tide lifts all boats? That's what I feel like this is all about.
Yeah, I mean, James, what do you exactly think of? What do you think about the fact that we could have an extra American team, like we can have an even bigger American market and stuff like that? I mean, do you think that can be really beneficial for the sport in the next few years?
Yeah, I mean, always having a big market, a big name in the sport is always good. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not really too sure, and I'm not really too familiar with Andretti, the team Andretti itself. So, but from the sounds of it, like it sounds like it's only gonna do more good than harm.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what we can say about Andretti. I mean, you got some.
Just a question on Mario Andretti. Did he win Formula One, IndyCar?
I know he won this. This is another test of my knowledge. I think it was 78. You can all Google that and quote me on it.
I think 78 was Emerson Fittipaldi, but
I want to say it. Right, well, we've got Jack, Google it. While I keep talking, Jack will Google it and find out. So I think he won IndyCar. Obviously, I don't think it was called IndyCar. I think IndyCar's gone through quite a few rebranding and rebadging, but kart. I know he won the Indy 500 a few times. Might have won kart, but I'd say he was the first modern, maybe, I guess, who's right?
1978. Yes. Mario Andretti won the F1 World Championship in 1978. Let me have a... Oh, it doesn't come up with the Indy stuff. Hang on. I'll come back to you in a second.
Yeah.
You know, Fittipaldi, he won in IndyCar as well. And at the Indy 500, you've got to drink a glass of milk as tradition. But he owned like a whole load of orange farms. So he drank a glass of orange juice, and then they all had a go at him for ruining tradition. He said, no, it was okay because I mixed the orange juice with the milk, so it's fine.
Orange milk.
Does that just curdle it instantly? But, so I think Mario Andretti, first sort of era of the American drivers coming over from America. Obviously, you had Phil Hill and a few other American drivers won it before, but there hasn't really been that much. And if you do get that crossover, because I think especially now there's a beginning to be I think IndyCar's really raising its profile. You've got drivers looking at IndyCar as a viable option. Like Callum Ilott is, I think, now a established IndyCar driver. Obviously Grosjean as well. I think Tatiana Calderon's also gone into there, and I think it can only be better because obviously motorsport has the issue of that it doesn't really look good in like a whole world focused on climate change and stuff. So I would say everyone should sort of like band together, and then you've got that level of top tier competition. You've got WEC, you've got like F1, you've got IndyCar, you've got this top level, and you can go through different branches, and the branches can overlap from one another. Because I think a lot of WEC drivers could probably do well in Formula One and vice versa. Obviously, there's the difference between open cockpit and closed cockpit, but we should just be encouraging different viable options, especially because F1 is quite a closed shop. There's only 20 drivers on the seat, and maybe it is the pinnacle, but maybe that might change in the future. Jack, what do you want to say?
Just got the deets on Mario Andretti. So he won it was called Champ Car at the time, in 1965, 1966 and 1969. He won the 1969 Indianapolis 500, and he also won the Daytona 500. I've lost that now. In 1967. So, he spent quite a while in America, came over to F1 later. I think it's unconfirmed, but I did see on Twitter that he said they would look to have at least one American driver. So you've got that as well. You can far out Americaning. That's definitely not a word, but they're going more obnoxious than Haas are, at least in the American way.
Yeah. I mean, do you think? I mean, if Andretti was to come to the sport, I mean, could you think of any American drivers who would currently come into the sport? Because I think, especially if you got like the F1 Junior Pool type thing, the only American driver we have right now is Logan Sargent, but he's only just coming to Formula 2. But do you think there's anybody else who's probably?
I think Colton Herta, maybe. Colton Herta. I guess Pato Award. I know he's Mexican, but I'd say it's close enough. I think that would probably count on. I think they would sort of want a driver from the American sphere, from IndyCar, from maybe even NASCAR. I know Jimmy Johnson's gone from NASCAR to IndyCar. I think he's struggling a bit, but obviously it's completely different. Daytona 500 was this weekend, actually. Good race.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that they will want someone from the American sphere, and obviously Colton Herta won the title, so he would probably be the most obvious option.
Yeah, so I mean, they've got the obvious one of Colton Herta, who drives for Andretti, but you've also got Alexander Rossi and Romain Grosjean, who have both driven in Formula 1 before, and who drive for Andretti at the moment. Yes, you've got Pato Award again, and I would put forward Joseph Newgarden. He's won the IndyCar Championship 4 times, and he's 30, so he's not he's that experienced name. I think I don't think it's likely, but I think he's the most talented of those at the moment that are part of that older generation. That would be my dark horse guess.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, do you have anything else to add about Andretti in Formula 1 or anything like that?
Don't fumble it, please. 24. Well, that'll be. Realistically, that would put 12 teams back on the grid by 25 or 26, assuming the VW group don't pull out. Yeah. And that's a very stable F1 grid. Maybe Haas would drop out, or maybe they get more competitive because you want to be the best American team.
Yeah.
The US Grand Prix would be nuts if there was an actual American team on the grid.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've always dreamed of a Dodge Formula 1 team. If Stellantis go ahead and do that and to try to put 2 teams into the championship, I think that would be so awesome.
Oh, that would be good. That would be a good one. Dodge, sort of coming out with that whole power. They're one of my favourite muscle cars as well. And they have, I'm not sure, do they have much of a motorsport history, Dodge, or not really?
Definitely in stock car racing.
No.
Yeah, definitely stock.
Yeah, they'll have a history in stocks. There's Chevy, Ford, and Toyota are the NASCAR teams. It's I want to say the Camry, the Fusion, and I don't know what the Chevrolet's called, but I think Dodge, the Charger. There's a Dodge. It's a Dodge Daytona, right? That's a car. Is it
Dodge Daytona was a car. Yeah.
Well, exactly. It's the Daytona, Daytona 500. They have history. Maybe not now. I want to say they might be in GT racing with the Viper. I'm not entirely sure. But
yeah, the Dodge Viper ACR, which came out a while ago, that V10 was a feat of engineering.
It's
and
8 litres.
Smashed. It smashed track records all over the place.
I think it's the largest displacement on a V10
on an actually
ever.
Aspirated,
I think, or even actually in the production car for the stop, the Vibe that 8.4 liters is no small thing. It's for the size of this whole table right here. Or something like that. Anyway.
I think it's the wing size is when was America founded? 1778.
76.
The wing size is exactly
Oh, that is so
1,776
so American.
Oh,
so
surprise, surprise.
I don't. And sometimes America annoys me, but sometimes if it's overly American, it's really entertaining.
Yeah, I mean,
Like Shaq rolling up in an open wheeler or the lowrider, like whatever.
But it's so weird that these basketball players, their head is over the roll hoop. So like, if the car flips, that's just game over at that point.
Just so
or
American.
even just Shaq just literally just tiring Lewis Hamilton when Lewis is on the freaking podium.
The F1, the race just stops halfway through, and we have a halftime show.
I won't be surprised if that happens in the future.
Everyone
I
just
totally
stops on track where they are. And we just get a show with like Kendrick Lamar and Dr. Dre.
Yeah, but oh well. That's suppose that's America in a nutshell, I suppose. But
You know that new no flyover rules? Does that count for America as well? Because I swear that's like a staple in American culture.
The no flyover rule is a weird one because apparently the red arrows are still allowed to do it.
Are those the Italians?
They're the British people.
Oh, sorry.
No, but then it's like display teams are allowed, but not military planes. But commercial flights are still allowed. It's a very odd rule that hasn't really excluded anyone except for like Russia. But we might not even go to Russia. We might not even end up in Russia this
not
year.
at this rate, but yeah.
World War III, fun. Yeah. Right. Anything else?
I think to be fair, that's kind of like the big news that's kind of come out in the last few weeks, and it's just been very, very overwhelming. It's like a lot of news.
Can't wait for tomorrow to find out that Lewis Hamilton has retired and has been replaced by Valtteri Bottas again in Mercedes, because that just seems to be how the news works. And will Bahrain testing have started by next week?
I think it's the week.
No, it's week 9 and that's on the Thursday
It's like
anyway.
March the 7th or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it won't be next week, and it won't be the week after that either.
What's next week's news?
Oh God, we'll do something else. We've had 2 weeks of news. We can't do more news.
And then so we got that. Then we got week 9, and then we've got our big season preview in week 10, where we try and work out who's the best.
Honestly, I just can't wait for the season to start.
It's so close.
Just come already, man. I'm like, serious. I just wanted to come. How about you?
Well, I'm just looking forward to just getting back on track. Like, there's all this shop talk all the time right now, and I just want to see basically Lewis Hamilton absolutely nail everyone else and come back for his 8th championship.
He'll be back with a vengeance. I know that. I think everybody knows that.
And
Anyway.
Toto.
Oh yes, Toto smashing more headphones this year. But yeah, I think that's all we have time for this week. So say thank you for everybody. Thank you, Will.
Thank you.
Jack,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And James, thank you for this. This is the Warwick F1 show, and you listen to 12:51 AM. I am signing off for today. I am your host, Chinmay.